Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Tuliatos, brought to you by his website, gtoul.com, where you can get his book, Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, PED's Use in Sports. You can also get that on Amazon.com. Joining us all the way from Athens, Greece, Dr. George. How are you, sir?
Hello, Ron. I'm very excited because I just booked my tickets for Columbus, Ohio, and I did the reservation for the hotel also, and I bought the VIP 4 months ahead, yes.
Yeah, you kind of have to, especially
I
the
have,
hotels.
because I was invited. I want to thank officially Ring College because there's going to be a symposium.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're going to be part of that.
Yeah, I'm going to be part as a panel. Ring College is a panelist, and the subject is testosterone replacement therapy in sports and in bodybuilding. And I think Bill Wheeling also will be there. Steve Blackman promised me he'll be there also.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And it's a chance for me to promote my book, my name, and it's an honor for me to be part of this panel, of this discussion, And of course, I want to see the show in first place because the first time I was 3 years ago when Kai Green, I hadn't the chance of being at the finals. Yeah. So now I will be also the finals meeting the pros as the Olympia also. Yeah. Being the expo also on Saturday and on Sunday because it's a 4-day expo.
Yeah.
And I'm very surprised because the tickets are already reserved. It's going to be very packed. And actually, as a matter of fact, the hotels are more expensive than in Vegas.
Yeah, isn't that well? Because in Vegas, the hotels make their money from gambling. So they don't want you. They want people there just so you'll stay there and gamble. So the rooms, especially during the week, you can get rooms at a big hotel for like $30, $40 a night, I think sometimes.
So the prices are double in Ohio than in Nevada.
Yeah, because they know you're not going to spend any more money at the hotel. That's it. So, but you have to get, anybody watching this, if you're planning on going to the Arnold and you have not got your hotel, haven't got your reservations for the hotel yet, get them now because Columbus, Ohio, those hotels right around that area, they fill up quick. I bet they're almost full now.
Yeah. Otherwise, you have to stay far away. I mean, about 5 miles, and then you have to carry a bus or shuttle, a taxi.
Yeah. One time I stayed like 10 or 12 miles away.
Really?
Yeah. Really. It was years ago. But
another thing, yesterday I gave an interview to Kit Michael Sanderson.
Okay.
We met at the gala party after the Olympia. Yeah. So we did an interview half in Spanish, half in English. He's the translator of the MD Latino.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the differences between salbutamol and clenbuterol. And because WADA bans clenbuterol, but does not ban and permits for the athletes to use under asthmatic crisis salbutamol, but under small doses that they treat asthmatic crisis. So I developed the difference between these two medications, and it was really interesting. And it was something that I, in first place, had a discussion with Rick Collins about it.
Yeah. Cool.
And I believe in this conference, in this Congress in Columbus, we're going to talk if we can justify the use of replacement therapy under hypogonadistic status in athletes,
Oh, I mean, why wouldn't they? Well, you guys will debate it, I'm sure.
Well, would you deny a diabetic patient to use its insulin if there's need for, or his beta-2 agonist in he's asthmatic? I don't think so.
I think their concern would be that a lot of athletes would fake being hypogonadal.
Sure, but we work with labs, and we declare this before with a physician.
Okay. Well, doctor, this is edition 34. We have 11 questions. Yes. 11 questions from your fans, so let's get started. Dr. T, my father is 60 years old, has type 1 diabetes, and takes insulin to control his blood glucose level. He's considering taking TRT. Can running a low dose of testosterone cause any problems with controlling his blood glucose levels? Thanks from Chris.
I'm glad for this question because John Chrysler in first place mentioned this. So what he said, he was a pioneer. Chrysler was a trailblazer. And what he said, in the near future, HPTA assessment and hypogonadic patients who already receive insulin, we have to adjust their dose because testosterone in first place improves insulin sensitivity. Plus, if you're already diagnosed as hypogonadic patient with insulin resistance, then along with insulin or metformin, you have to use testosterone in order to improve your insulin sensitivity. So in this case, if somebody is a diabetic 1 patient and uses insulin for life, and he wants to add a bit of testosterone, or in case somebody is diabetic and wants to do a steroid cycle, he has to adjust and lower his insulin dose because the insulin sensitivity improves. How? You build muscle and you burn metal fat by steroids. So this is a fundamental mechanism, and insulin resistance is lowered and insulin sensitivity improves. Besides, if you read the instruction papers of the steroids or the insulin, it says there is also that they interact this kind of 2 drugs, so you have to adjust your dose of insulin along as when you introduce anabolic steroids into it. Okay. So yes, his father wants to use a little bit of testosterone as a replacement therapy. He has to decrease his insulin dose, and of course modify his carb intake also, because they interact.
Okay, cool. Next one. Hi, Doc. Not sure if you would reply to this. Thank you for answering the question about the opioid abuse. I'm 35, so I'm sure my test levels are depreciating greatly already. I've been taking all these dangerous pain meds since the age of 16. What kind of labs or blood work would you recommend? I've checked to see what's going on with me: libido, weight loss, difficulties, low T. I've recently lost 21 kilograms and used to battle with sleep apnea, night sweats, etc. Now that I've lost the weight, I don't have those symptoms anymore. However, I feel I'm lacking something somewhere. Where do I start? Thank you again, Doc. Huge fan of your work.
So the hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis assessment includes the following labs: luteinizing hormone, LH, follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, total testosterone, free testosterone, beta-2 estradiol E2, prolactin, sex hormone binding globulin SHBG, and sulfated dehydroepiandrosterone SDHEA, along with cortisol sometimes, because cortisolemia and chronic stress may have a negative impact on testosterone production. And also we can also evaluate glycemic hemoglobin A1C, because hypogonadism sometimes is accompanied by insulin resistance. These are the 8 + 2, 10 labs that we have to measure, the hormonal panel.
Yeah.
All right. And either to differentiate between primary or secondary hypogonadism, and then treat accordingly. Okay. Of course, as Dr. Ron McLean says, we treat labs along with symptoms. So we just not go by the lab work. We have to justify if we have moodiness, foggy mind, low self-esteem, a little bit of melancholy or morning depression, or mental fat accumulation or splatting fat, muscle weakness, fatigue, loss of sexual interest,
Yeah.
And yes, all these things that they justify the hypogonadism in man.
As Dr. O says, how do you feel, sir? That's always his big question.
Perfectly, yes.
Because the labs never tell the full story.
Of course, yes. We need to ensure about the labs with the clinical history.
Now, I didn't know if this was a joke question, but I put it in here anyway. He said, "Hey, Dr. Tren," which you're not Dr. Tren, you're Dr. Testosterone. "Hey, Dr. Tren, I have a question. Why after Tren, I want to kill everybody?" So I guess he feels like murdering people when he's using Tren.
It's good to have this kind of question, because some people assume that there's no right ways, or if there is some aggression, it's according to the individual, Now, the reason Tren and halotestin and trenbolone are so bad for the mood, and aggression, is because they're very androgenic. Trenbolone is 5 times more androgenic than testosterone. Halotestin is 8 times more aggressive, more androgenic than testosterone. And if we add more, more of them, and milligrams and as compound is accumulated, then they bind, tremendously the androgen receptor in the brain. They pass through the blood-brain barrier,
Yeah.
They attach to the androgen receptor. And then in MRIs of chronic steroid abusers, we may see some malfunctions in the histopathological, evaluation, and we may see some enlarged hippocampus or amygdala. These belong to the limbic system that they have to do with with emotions also, and there's also some evidence that we have neurodegeneration, cellular apoptosis, damage, and as a matter of fact, there is a link between. There was a study by Ergolog. There was a link between Alzheimer's disease and chronic tren abuse.
Oh, geez.
Mm-hmm.
You mean using tren for very long periods and large amounts can increase your chances of getting Alzheimer's disease?
Well, as Alzheimer is the result of accumulation of amyloid protein in the brain. Now, I guess then trenbolone contributes on that, and also has to do with central nervous system neuronal damage, Wow. But personally, I was very aggressive on tren, on the halo, plus the diet, the fatigue from the extra overtraining, everything contributes to that. And also, it depends on the stimulus. If you live alone by yourself, you may have zero right ways. If you live with an asshole, or your wife busts your balls, or your sister, your brother, whoever, then you have these, the cause of it.
Yeah. If you're sitting in traffic all day, or if you're working in customer service and dealing with angry.
If you live in a cave by yourself, then no big deal.
You'd be cool. Okay. Here's another one. Somebody wants to ask about your hair, doctor. Here we go. I don't know if you talked about this, but the doc has a full, thick head of hair. Do you take something to keep it like that, or is it genetics?
Well, I think it's mostly genetics, because my father and my grandmother, my grandfather also had plenty of hair, both my father's and my mother's side. I don't believe that it's the result of extra protein or shampoos that I buy from from the hairdressers, from the hairstylists. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's mostly genetics, and there was a time during my shows, perhaps there were hair thinning, and you can observe this when the scalp is wet.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's not anymore. But when I was abusing different steroids together, 5 or 6 different steroids.
Yeah.
I think that the scalp and the prostate are genetically predisposed by the 5-A reductase enzyme,
And that's odd that your hair, a lot of people I know that have thinned hair, it never comes back. They never get their hair back.
Mm-hmm. And also it's disproportional with the hairy back, you lose hair and you develop hairy back like an ape or a bear,
Yes, I know. My wife likes to tell me nobody can see that hair because she doesn't want to shave it for me, and I can see it peeking over my traps. I can see it right now.
Yesterday with a lot spread, you was hairy back.
It's hard to post back pictures because people talk shit.
Very back.
Okay. Dr. T, thanks for answering the equipoise question. What are your thoughts on using Masteron E, 100 to 200 milligrams per week instead of Proviron? Will this have the same or similar effect on libido and keeping some water off?
Well, Masteron Untitled, I never heard of it. I never used of it. I have heard there is a version, but Masteron propionate was the original brand from Belgium, and it was used as an androgen therapy against breast cancer when the estrogens rose. Now, theoretically, Masteron also is DHT, a synthetic that does not convert to estrogen. We can use it instead of testosterone the 2 weeks before the cycle. And practically, yes, it's the same by using Proviron. However, Proviron is a pharmaceutical grade, oral, non-toxic, non-17 alkylated. And I believe it's the oral apply, it's much easier and convenient than injecting yourself. All right, but it does the same job. It binds tightly with HBG and liberates free testosterone. So you have excellent self-esteem, sex drive, libido, and also fat burning. It's an androgen, DHT has slight anti-estrogenic properties. Yeah. Within a cycle, yes, but as part of replacement therapy, better take your pill, and it's very cheap. In Greece, it costs about $5 the 20 pills.
Oh, wow. That is very cheap. Now, you've talked about smoking being a bad thing, but now someone wants to know, is it bad or lethal to chew tobacco on a regular basis while on a diet?
Well, chewing has more benefits than smoking, of course. Now, chewing tobacco skips, I think, the tar, which is carcinogenic. Okay. Now, does the tobacco itself contains nicotine? Yes, I think so. Yeah. So nicotine does a bad job in HDL and also aggregates the platelets and makes more viscous the blood, because also elevates fibrinogen. But of course, if you don't smoke, you avoid the CO that elevates EPO and hematocrit also. You can also chew nicotine chewing gums, if you have the addiction, you want to get rid and quit smoking.
Right.
But this is what the Indians did in the ancestors, the American ancestor Indian were chewing tobacco, right?
Yep.
However, I believe they developed tongue cancer, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I've seen some really disgusting pictures of, tongue cancer, mouth cancer, which, smoking is obviously going to give you lung cancer.
Colombia, they chew cocaine leaves.
The coca leaves, yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are the people picking the cocaine, picking the coca. That's how they have the energy to do it.
He was offered officially at the hotel to chew, cocaine leaves,
What hotel was this in Colombia?
Yes, in Medellin.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, was this a hotel in like Columbus, Ohio? I've never seen a coca leaf.
So also nicotine and is nootropic, but also stimulates your satiety. So it may be useful during dieting to suppress your appetite.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of women for many, many decades, they've relied on smoking to stay thin. It keeps because they're not hungry.
Runaway models, fashion model, yes.
Right. Okay, next one. Would it be sustainable to be on TRT, 350 milligrams weekly? So I guess he means 350 milligrams of test a week and 200 milligrams weekly Primo, injecting on Mondays and Thursdays for life. I'm a healthy individual, no precursors, non-smoker. Your friend who has been on 250 milligrams TRT for 20 years. After hearing this, what if he added Primo? What would be the side effects, benefits? Would there be some other protocol with more benefits and less side effects? Thank you for your time. Love the channel and what you're doing for the people.
So 250 or 350 lasting?
So he wants to do 250 test every week, and then he wants to add 200 Primobolan every week.
Okay, I consider
forever.
this. We're for life. This is a lot. I consider this as a slight blasting, and perhaps this is a safe cycle to do it for 8 weeks in every year. So double your TRT dose up to 250, and use a little bit of Primo. But the long-term consequences would be erythrocytosis, a drop in HDL. I don't know. Perhaps a left VH if you train heavily with 250 for life. Aromatization, certainly. You're gonna need at least 1 milligram of anastrozole once a week or every 10 days, because 250 they will aromatize. Okay, you may be an exception, but have you measured your estradiol when you're blasting 250, for instance? Because you may not have symptoms, but you may circulate 3-digital estradiol within you, and this favors, clotting and edema and water retention. So I think 250 would be safe for 8 weeks, along with 200 of Primo, but make sure before that your labs are perfect, your liver is perfect, okay, your hematocrit is low enough, below 50, for instance. Yeah. And I consider not toxic the Primobolan, but it's a weaker anabolic than testosterone. Yeah. Far less weaker than Deca also. But it is zero aromatization. This is the good about Primo. You don't have to worry about further gynecomastia. And it matches perfectly well with the enanthate. So both Primo and test enanthate, they match together with the half-life. So you can both share them in the same sharings, and you may shut them, for instance, every Monday, both of them. It's very convenient.
He wants to do it Mondays and Thursdays, split the dose up. But, okay.
Well, if you want to do it twice a week, yes, you do Monday and Thursday. But it's also enough once a week, because the enanthate is a prolonged half-life, And yes, you can use 250 and 200 in one syringe, so it's about 3 ml.
Okay. Yeah, typically we always talk about splitting up doses, but in enanthate, you don't feel that's needed?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Doc, what do you think about dangers of high aldosterone induced by wet steroids? Not really sure what he means by that.
Steroids are the one that aromatize, I guess.
Okay. It seems that hyperaldosteronism plays a big role in cardiovascular side effects. If that's true, is there something we can do to keep it down?
Well, aldosterone elevates blood pressure, and all steroids, even the dry ones, will elevate in a more or lesser degree aldosterone, with the exception of winstrol that does not. That's why winstrol leads to achy joints, because it does not lead to water retention through aldosterone, and you have dry joints. Okay. We need aldosterone either for the joints also, you know. Now, aromatization is another fact. So apart from aldosterone that leads to sodium retention and water, and edema, of course, you have aromatization that is also linked with water retention and fat also. So the aromatized drugs, for instance, dianabol, oxymethylone, but this is a question mark because it's a DHT derivative, and I listened with Dr. Connor, your previous lecture. As a matter of fact, if you talk with an organic chemist like Patrick Arnold, he's going to tell you if you use it, oxymethylone alone does not aromatize. However, its metabolites have greater affinity for estrogenic receptors. So if you use it along with an aromatizing agent like DECA or Test, then you'll have greater affinity for aromatization. Oh. But it's true that oxymethylone, even though it's considered to be a very watery and estrogenic compound, it's a DHT derivative, like, for instance, Primo, Winstrol, Anavar, Masteron, and Proviron. So if you use testosterone, DECA, dianabol, yes, they will lead to water retention as a result of excessive estrogen. Plus, then you have also the sodium retention as a result of aldosterone. In this case, you may need to use a diuretic, for instance, to lower the water retention, and also aromatase inhibitor to lower the estrogen production. Gotcha. Okay? So yes, you have to take care of your blood pressure, avoid extra sodium, extra salt intake, you know. Just eat, you may eat some salty foods like smoked salmon, smoked turkey, but not use extra salt in your omelette, for instance. Eggs and yogurt also contains sodium itself, you know. And hydrate plenty of low sodium water. And make sure also you use potassium, because it's contradicting the sodium potassium pump on the cell membrane. So a little bit more of potassium may excrete more of sodium, you know. It's one against the other.
Gotcha. Okay. Next one. Please, huge doc, I'd like to clarify one thing forever about DECA. Should it work with testosterone in a 1-to-1 relation, or should it be 1 DECA, 2 testosterone? What is the perfect balance between them? In order to prevent prolactin elevation or the loss of sex drive, should it be taken with anastrozole or letrozole or exemestane or something else? So in a bulking cycle of 12 to 16 weeks only, test in DECA, should the anti-estrogens be alternated, each one for 4 weeks? Please, if it's all right or not, or if something else must be added like Proviron, I'd be grateful for your high knowledge. Thank you very much for your huge experience and level of science.
Yes, Dr. Thomas O'Connor explains this perfectly well in his chapter, ASIH, Anabolic Steroid-Induced Hypogonadism, in William O'Reilly's 11th edition of 2017 Anabolics book. So he clarifies that, he mentions that when we use 19 testosterone derivatives like nandrolone and trenbolone, the ratio with testosterone has to be 1 to 2. So 2 grams of testosterone, 1 gram of these agents. Or for instance, 1 gram of testosterone, 500 milligrams of in order to support a good sex drive, okay? Because they are suppressive, but prolactinemia is linked not exclusively with loss of sex drive only, but anorgasmia. Anorgasmia practically means you cannot come, okay? Some women like that, okay? Because with primitive ejaculation, you may ruin your relationship, okay? So you know how psychiatrists treat primitive ejaculation? They prescribe SSRIs in order to elevate prolactin and lead to anorgasmia.
Oh, God.
There are some men that within they get into the vagina and ejaculate. Game over.
No, I understand, but you don't want to be there for 3 hours and you can't finish.
Well, the woman is going to fall in love with you in this case.
No, I don't care. You don't finish, it's game over. It's a...
First, we have to care about the women. As soon as she comes multiple times, then we have to come.
Okay, well, 3 hours is a little ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But
how much
anemia is does not always kill sex drive, but it kills organs. Coming.
Right,
So
right.
once you come, you're a guy, then you have the refractory period, where prolactin also elevates, and then you have to wait prolactin to calm down in order to have a hard on again and proceed to the second phase of sex.
Yeah, it's funny because you say they'll prescribe SSRIs, but
yes, they do so.
Yeah,
it's not about depression, but it's about hormones. It's about prolactin. If you are able to elevate prolactin through other way, then you have this kind of benefit, but also a curse for some others. But I believe it's worse to have premature ejaculation than anorgasmia.
Now, you're familiar with Ecstasy Mdma?
No.
Well, you know what it is, the drug.
Yes, I know.
Ecstasy. Okay.
That
is a very, very frustrating side effect of ecstasy is inorgasmia. It's been many years since I used to go to clubs many years ago. That was my thing. And that was the worst thing is inorgasmia. And when I hear you talk about it now, it just brings back awful memories.
They use local anesthetic, lidocaine, in the head of the penis, in order to get numb and feel nothing. In this way, you cannot. But this is it's local. It doesn't work hormonally.
Yeah.
It's just local anesthesia.
God, what's wrong with these people? Here we go. How much time needs to pass to start a new cycle after I do PCT and my blood work is great? Can I start directly after PCT, or do I need more time to clean out the androgen receptors? On the web, usually writes double the month staying off. So he's heard that if you're on for 3 months, you need to stay off for 6 months. Do you really need to stay off that long?
Well, actually, they say that as long as you're in, you have to get out.
Same amount.
PCT now usually works between 4 to 6 weeks, roughly 1 month. But first of all, we have to take care of 3 main distractions: hematocrit, lipids, and liver. Okay. And kidneys also. But as long as the biochemical labs are okay, and also your CBC, then we don't care much about the hormonal issues, because as long as you get into the gear again, they're going to switch off. So you're going to depend always again on your injections. So for the androgen receptors now, there is a fact here, there is a point that we have to open up them. And some people believe that, of course, when you stay off steroids, they become desaturated, because the more you get within a cycle, then you have the saturation androgen theory. They get accustomed,
Yeah.
So, for instance, you follow a 3-month cycle, 12 weeks, then you have to wait another 12 weeks to get rid of everything, have perfect labs, and then repeat. So usually guys follow 3-month cycles twice a year. So 6 months they are in gear and 6 months off gear within a year,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that works very well for a lot of people that I've known.
One good off season and one good cutting every year,
There's a lot of people. A lot of people just stay on 52 weeks a year, though.
Oh yeah, I like the pros are doing this.
Of course, they have to. Yes. Okay. Final question: can we use statins on a cycle to mitigate the negative cardiovascular effects of steroids?
This is a good question. Always, I was asked this along my early years from Greek competitors, and the answer is no. Why? Because statins will lead to excessive rhabdomyolysis. Rhabdomyolysis will also strain the liver, because we have common receptors in the liver, in the myocardium, and also in the skeletal muscles. Also, statins stress the liver. I don't know, maybe it's they are liver toxic, it's induced by rhabdomyolysis, but they also lower Q10 coenzyme in the myocardium, in the heart, because they cut off cholesterol production.
Wow.
And Q10 participates in this process. They also lower testosterone. You don't care about this, of course, if you are within a cycle. And they also lead to insulin resistance. So people who are using statins in long term, they have elevated A1C. And you know, this approaches to diabetes, to insulin resistance. And another fact is that, in order to avoid this, you may use alternative agents like red rice yeast, polycosanol, phytosterols, you know, and EFAs. What is most important is the atheromatic index comes as the ratio between HDL and total cholesterol. So LDL is not part of this. And we have to know that statins affect only LDL and total cholesterol. So a good HDL is not the result of statins. It's a result of niacin, a cardio, a good diet, you know, and quit of smoking, of course, and genetic predisposition. So no matter how many statins are you using within a cycle, if you don't have a good HDL, your atheromatic index is going to be poor. So you guys, you may have below 100 LDL, but if you don't have a good HDL, for instance, 40 or 30 or 35, then your atheromatic index is going to be over 5, which is not good. So in order to have also a clear liver and also muscles that they are not sore, because rhabdomyolysis does not give you the ability to recover, and you actually break down your own muscle, you know. This is a catastrophic scenario for a bodybuilder. So I would suggest to use statins along with after PCT, you know, and when you get off your gear. Otherwise, you have to use very low dose, for instance, 5 milligrams.
I use 10.
You use 10, but Ron, if you're following TRT purely, then I don't believe you need statins. Now, if you introduce some gear, then you may do it as a prevention rule, but you can also control your lipids with your diet and with your cardio as well. You know, you're very experienced and you know what to eat and how to train. And I believe when you're off cycle and just rely on HRT, you don't need that much to rely on statins, you know, because we feel sore. We may have also a rupture of a tendon, you know, and our liver is, you know, the liver enzymes are above the range.
Yeah. I mean, I went on them because I had calcium in there. My calcium score was a little high.
I got it. You have to supplement yourself with Q10 coenzyme also, ubiquinol.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, Doctor, that was 11 questions. That was episode 34.
Yes.
We're getting closer and closer to 52, which would be a full year of episodes.
52 is going to be at the Arnold Classic, 1 year much. No.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everyone knows on the Muscular Development website, on the Noble Forum, we have links to 2 articles that you wrote, Off-Season Cycles of the Pros, Cutting Cycles of the Pros. Those are both posted up there on musculardevelopment.com right now.
Last night, yes.
Very, very good reading. Very interesting.
Thank you.
I think a lot of the viewers will be surprised. Some of them won't be, but some of them will be when they see what the pros use.
Now we have the diuretics running on the November's issue.
Yeah.
Who's on the cover?
November is Josh Lenardowitz, I believe. Yeah. Is that November or December? That's a November issue, right? I'm getting confused. It's like every month we do another issue. They just keep coming and coming. But we have Kai Green on the next cover that we're working on right now. That's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Any rumors of an alleged, comeback?
Why does no, I did. He did. That was my first question. And he said stranger things have happened. So
does he have any good reason for being 300 pounds in shape?
He's 297. He likes being big. He loves working out. He must love to eat. But
it's easy for him to stay this way.
Yeah, because he hasn't competed since 2016, and he still looks exactly the same.
He's 42, eh?
44.
44,
yeah. Some people think he's older, but I think 44 is right.
I think he does something with acting now. Huh? He tried a little bit.
He actually just filmed a movie in India, and he's under contract to do 4 more movies over there. Big budget Bollywood movies.
The good thing about Kai is he speaks fluently. He's clever. He's smart, and he also dances perfectly well. And he has this kind of motion, that it's needed for an actor. Yeah. And he has a good relationship with the lens,
Oh, did you see him on the TV show Stranger Things on Netflix?
But he represents himself perfectly well. He knows how to pose, He loves the camera.
Oh yeah, I mean that guy should be in a ton of movies. I think he'd be great in in a bunch of American
He
movies.
has this extraordinary appearance, with the long hair.
Yeah. He already looks like a movie character, like
Predator.
something out of an action movie. Yeah, the Predator. Yeah. All right. Well, Doctor, thank you so much sharing your time, your knowledge with all the viewers. Guys, you can leave your questions if you're watching this on YouTube. First of all, you should be subscribed to our channel. Second of all, you can leave the questions right there in the comments. Doctor's very good. He looks at them every day, and we go through and decide what we're going to answer for the next show. And yeah, he's doing good work here, of course, doing good work for the people out there that need it. So much appreciated, Doctor.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching Ask Dr. Testosterone with Dr. George Touliatos. Don't forget to visit his website, gtoul.com. Pick up your copy of Bodybuilding, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Also available on Amazon.com. And of course, every month in the pages of Muscular Development magazine, you can see his column as well. Thank you, Doctor, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.